Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the gate 28, which is typically called the gate of struggle, sometimes called adventure, definitely about creativity in life. So I'll be putting this on Facebook, but I just wanted to mention it today. I have a book chapter coming out in an anthology that's going to be released on November 2nd, and I'd love you to take a look at it or buy it. It's called Women Living in Alignment, and you can find the information and a summit that's going on right now, and it's all at womenlivinginalignment.com. So hope you'll take a look. Okay, so this week with this Sun in Gate 28, we've got, which is right here coming off the bottom of the spleen. It's in the middle. It's one of the fear gates, and it's one of the fear gates. So we've got the Earth, the Sun in Gate 28 down here, and we've got the Earth in the Gate 27, which is here coming off the side of the sacral, which is the gate of responsibility. And so we start the week with no definition, and that goes through Friday. And then on Friday, the Earth is already in Gate 27, and then the Mercury moves into Gate 50, and so that creates this channel of preservation, and it's basically about preservation of life and values, and keeping the culture intact, basically. But it's also, if you usually have an open spleen, it's a great time to clean out your closets. It's a great time to get rid of the clutter, because everybody's going to feel as if they have a defined spleen, and it's the kind of energy that's much more likely to throw things out. So if you're going to do any fall cleaning or get ready for the holidays, this is a great time to do it. Everybody will be throwing things out next week. Okay, so with that Sun in Gate 28, it's typically called the Gate of Struggle, also preponderance of the great or the game player. In the original I Ching, it's the transitoriness of power and influence. So it's basically putting, getting past the fears of life, getting past the fear that we have no purpose, and moving into what would look like more risk-taking, more challenging, more struggle in life. You never know what you're going to come across, right? It could be good stuff, it could be bad stuff, but basically it's this struggle that we all go through that is part of this gate. The incarnation crosses this week are the cross of the unexpected, because when you are putting yourself out there and you are, trying to make things happen and taking risks and dealing with the challenges, you just don't know what's going to happen. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be some combination of the two. And so that's what we call it, the cross of the unexpected. It's also the crosses of risks and alignment. And then in the Gate 27, we've got responsibility. And this is nourishment or caring in the original I Ching. It's really what helps, what allows really children to grow to adulthood. It's what has them thrive, then be educated and nourished and taken care of, well taken care of. With this gate of responsibility. There's rarely a mother or father, for that matter, any parent with this gate of responsibility is going to feel, especially since it's part of the defense circuit, is going to feel very protective and caring and nurturing of their children, and make sure that they, get fed and clothed and housed and all that good stuff, and really want that for everybody else in the culture as well. So it's the enhancement of the quality and the substance of all activities through caring. And in the Gene Keys, selfishness is the shadow, altruism is the gift, and selflessness is the CD. So in the Gene Key 28, when we look at that, here the shadow is purposelessness, the gift is totality, and the CD is immortality. And so here, basically the fear associated with the Gate 28, or the Gate of Struggle, is about not having a purpose, not seeing your way clear to really feeling as if you're part of the planet, of the collective, of the the group that you're in, because of fear of no purpose, that your life really doesn't have a purpose. And so why take the risk? Why take the chance? Why, put yourself out there in any way if you don't feel like there's no purpose? So if you don't feel like there's any purpose. So the gift is totality, and then and totality in that you're coming into the, you face the fears. Think of it as a caution sign, not a stop sign, right? That's what I tell my clients. These fears are false fears that come up with this, with the gates coming off the spleen. And so if you just think of them as caution signs where you're kind of looking both ways and crossing your T's and dotting your I's and making sure everything's in, process the way you want it to be, then there's really no real need for fear. You can face the fears and then move on anyway, right? It's face the fear and do it anyway kind of attitude, and but not in a kind of a belligerent or angry way of doing it. Just factually, just like, okay, I've done everything I could do to make sure this turns out well and correctly and successfully, and now I'm going to move forward, right? So that you don't have to have the fears. I listened to a great YouTube, it was on something with Elizabeth Gilbert talking about creativity and fear, and that fear is there. It's just to warn us. It's not to stop us in any way. We've got this creative bent and we want to pursue it. The fears are going to come up. The creative part of the brain is very different from the fearful part of the brain. The fearful part of the brain is part of the reptilian brain, right? And the creative side is way up in the frontal lobe, and probably lots of other parts too. But you don't have to stop because of that. It's not, the fear doesn't have to stop you. You want to get comfortable with it, you want to embrace it, and then just move forward. So in the graphic, he said, immortality is the air consciousness breathes. So we all want to be in that feeling of immortality where we can do what we want and find a way, and just basically find a way through. He also says there is a deep sense of thrill that comes as you progressively face your inner demons. And actually, Richard has a great line in the book about this. He said, some people think of your inner demons as the fears that come up, and really those fears are your angels. They're your angels who are coming to remind you of how powerful you are and how you can get through the fears, and you don't have to acquiesce to the fears. You don't have to, bow down to the fears. They're just there to warn you. That's all they're there for. Also, the mind cannot really grasp what immortality means. So true immortality is actually the cessation of time altogether. Anyway, another way out there one, but the whole thing here is that if you have the fear and you want to move into embracing the fear and into that totality, the best way you can do it is to embrace the creativity that you have in whatever form that is. It doesn't have to be artistic creativity. We're all creative in our own ways. And so find the way that makes the most sense for you. And if you can, find a creative way of being that's almost outside of yourself. It's almost that selflessness as opposed to selfishness that allows us to live for something bigger than just than just paying the bills, right? Something that's bigger than all of that. So we've got a number of personalities this week. I'll be talking about John Cleese. We've got Hillary Clinton, Julia Roberts, Bill Gates. I've done his chart enough, Katy Perry, but they all have this sun gate of 28, which is, typically struggle. Sometimes, in quantum human design, Karen Carey Parker calls it adventure. I don't quite go that far in terms of calling it adventure. I think perhaps it's creativity. As I said, it can be, in other words, it can be very creative energy, but you're still working through stuff, especially before 40 years old. If you've got this gate in your sun, it's educational. It's definitely, it can be adventurous, but most people that I talk to do call it a struggle. They are happy when they reach the 40-year mark, because then mostly the struggles are over. So it's that Uranus opposition that usually has them moving out of the struggle period and into a much more evolved period. Okay, so we got John Cleese, who's born October 27th, 1939. He's going to be 83 in a few days. He was born in Weston-super-Mare, England. And he's a generator, 1-3 profile with the right angle cross of the unexpected. He's been an actor, comedian, writer, producer. He was a member and one of the creators of Monty Python, which was very popular in the 60s and into the 70s. late 60s and throughout the 70s. The last movie they made was in 1983. But he was quite busy, has been quite busy ever since then. And as one of his profiles says, John Cleese is a tall person who likes lemurs, coffee, and wine. He's also been known to write. Writes a lot of comedy and TV shows and movies. He wrote A Fish Called Wanda. He wrote Fawlty Towers, the British TV series, which was very popular for a number of years. A Fish Called Wanda is one of the considered one of the best comedies of all time. He was in that with Michael Palin, who was one of his Monty Python colleagues, and he actually has had a lemur species named after him from Madagascar, which is kind of cool. And he keeps writing, or at least he had been writing for quite a while. He's become a philanthropist as well. He's quite active in Amnesty International, and I would say, well, he's got the 28 twice in his chart, at least twice. The 28 is in his conscious sun, but it is also in his North Node. So after 40 years old, this would have shown up as well. So that's interesting. Up until 40, he was in his sun, and then he kind of, would typically have been getting rid of the or over the struggles. And then with the 28 in the North Node, he actually continues the struggles after 40. So that's kind of interesting. So he's also got that 27, which for him creates, it is connected to the 50. He's got this, so the 50 is values, the 27 is preservation or responsibility. And then he's also got the 6, which is kind of the warrior or the peacemaker. He's got most of the defense circuit in his chart. He had 4 wives. He's on his 4th wife right now, 2 children. And, I would just say that with this spleen defined, he was very much about nurturing and keeping friends and family relatively close, although he did have, the internal spats with the colleagues. And in the end, or later on, I mean, they did get together eventually, but it took a while for all that to happen. And then he's got the 58, which is the joy of life. No surprise there. This defense circuit, he's got this 360, which is all about evolution and growth, right? And some trouble at the beginnings. 41, creativity. Again, no surprise there. The will center, he kind of just kept going and going. And as a generator, I actually thought he would show up to be a manifesting generator. So I was really surprised when I saw that he's a generator, but he does have the will center. And so that gives him 3 out of the 4 motors. He's got the will, the sacral, and the root center, but his throat is not connected to any of those motors. So he is, and in fact, he has triple split definition, which means that the ajna is connected to the throat, and then there's a gap. The will is connected to the G, and then there's a gap. And then the sacral, spleen, and root are all connected together. So he's really only got 2 centers that are open. He does need people. As a generator, he needs other people. And so it's no surprise that he was in a troupe, and he was in the Cambridge Footlights early on in his career. He graduated from one of the Cambridge colleges and actually got a law degree eventually. So he's a lawyer by training. He's very, very bright. And it just always, kind of fits that the brightest people become comedians. He's always had a very dry wit about him, and, gets his inventiveness and ideas from people who are around him or that he's observed. And so he's a, kind of a critic of the rest of us, and finds funny ways to talk about it. Between the G and the will center, he's got that channel of initiation, as we call it. So he was probably, 51. No surprise there. Very shocking, right? He's got the 25 love of spirit, but this is all about helping people to get to their goals. And that's, probably what he was very helpful in doing by writing and producing and acting and having that comedic edge to much of his writing. He was a good listener with the 13. Of course, he was making a creative contribution to the world with the 1. And when he did speak, even though he's a generator, he's got that 31, which is all about the gate of influence. The 56, the storyteller, again, no surprise there. All you have to do is think of the Black Knight or Dead Parrot or the Department of Arguments, something like that. Some of his most famous skits are, live in infamy from the Monty Python days. And if you're not a Monty Python fan and you would like to, find something funny, those are really funny. A lot of them are bizarre, a lot of them have very quirky, but there's certainly enough material in there to satisfy almost any kind of sense of humor. Now he does have the 4323, again, no surprise. And let's see, where does that, it just shows up. Okay, the 23 is down here in Uranus, both conscious and unconscious. And then the 43 is up here in Mercury. Okay, so he's speaking with this channel of genius, basically. But we usually call it freak to genius. I think his comedic timing was pretty spot on in terms of the notoriety that he gained. He really actually went on to be the most famous of the troupe of the Monty Python players. And this 4323 allowed him to do that. He's very, very bright and gifted as an actor, as a comedian, as a writer, as a businessman. He's made plenty of money. So he did have one, because he's had 4 wives. He called one of his comedy tours the alimony tour. So again, lots of tongue-in-cheek kind of humor. He has also the 1762 channel, which is all about opinions and then details. So he would write and write and write, and he usually had as his partner Graham Chapman, who passed away in the 70s, but he would basically have all the basics of the of whatever skit they were working on, and then Graham Chapman would be quiet, and then add something in that would elevate it. So just for example, with the Dead Parrot skit, it was originally supposed to be a broken toaster or a bad car or something like that, and Graham Chapman was the one who said, well, why don't we make it a dead parrot? And then it just completely elevated the level of comedy, and John Cleese has, it admitted as much over the years. He's also got the 47 mindset, which, having seen him in a number of interviews, even though he's not emotional, he does suffer from depression sometimes, and I think that that can come from that. And then the 4, because it can be either pessimistic or optimistic, negative or positive, and it's almost like an on-off switch. And the 4 is all about answers. So that's a lot of definition. The only things he has open are the head and the emotional solar plexus. So he was taking in all the emotions of the people that he was around, and he was taking in the ideas and inspiration also around him. But pretty, bold character when he walked in a room, not forgetting that he's also 6 foot something, quite tall. And his, one other thing I want to mention is his Chiron. His Chiron is in starting things. He has started quite a number of projects since he left Monty Python. He's been very, very busy, as I said, with Fawlty Towers and movies, and he was in Shrek, James Bond movies, a number of franchises. So the Shrek franchise, the James Bond 2 movies, and a number of other franchises like that. And then, but then he's got the 39 over here, also in his Chiron. So starting things that are provocative. Again, pretty much John Cleese to a T, and something that he's quite proud of as well. He likes to be the provocateur and push people, push them to think, push them to find out new things about themselves, and push them to question what's going on. So he actually was the dean of a college in Britain for a while after he left, right after he left Monty Python. And so he's very, very bright and can do any number of things, whatever he set his mind to. So that's John Cleese. Happy birthday, John. That'll be on the 27th. And I hope you have a great week. Look for the chances for where struggles show up, but also where adventures show up, and where creativity shows up, and where other things that you might have put to the side for a while, notice the fears, and then move ahead anyway. Because it's the kind of energy that can hold us back when we think too much about the struggles and not so much about the goal we actually have in mind and the vision of the future we actually hold. So have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Be well.